I want to share some simple, fun DIY projects with you. I love challenging myself to DIYs I haven't done before. And if you stay to the end of the video, I really want to share a journey I recently took. For my first project, I wanted to challenge myself to making my own clock, and I kind of wanted to make something quite large. So I'm going to use a little bit of a rope, and I decided to go with the macrame cord because it was the most flexible. Macrame cord comes in several different color tones. I'm also going to use the cedar board, and what I'll do with the cedar board is I will actually chop this into 4. Using the bare early American wood stain to give it kind of a rustic look is really what I would like to go with. I'm going to cut the board going in 20-inch increments, so I'll make 20-inch sections out of one board. Once I've made my lines, I'll go ahead and cut it using a circular saw. Or you could just use a hand saw as well. Because this is not an expensive wood and there is always scrap woods that you could find at the Home Depot, this makes for a very inexpensive project. And the objective of what I want to create is a wall clock. And I knew I wanted to have it in a certain size, approximately 18 to 20 inches. And because I couldn't find what I was looking for to buy, I thought this would be a great opportunity to make it. So now that we have all the boards cut, what we're going to do is go ahead and line them up, and we're just going to use some no more nails, or you could even use a wood glue, and we're going to actually smash them together and wait for everything to dry. So just give it maybe an hour or two, and this is going to firmly keep everything in place. After a couple of hours of letting this dry, we then can go to the next step. And what I want to do is create a circle inside the wood frame that we've now created. So I'm just going to use some string as well as a pencil. One of the best ways to get the perfect center point is to measure in a cross, and that will help to find exactly where the center point of your project is. So just using the string as well as the pencil, I was able to nail the string right into the center point and then direct the pencil exactly where I needed it to create the circular. So we're just going to use a jigsaw to continue to cut out the circle, and then I can get to the sanding. I will go ahead and sand everything and making everything nice and smooth and as round as I can. The overall design of this particular wall clock is actually going to have a little bit of a rustic look to it. So now we're going to have to create a center point where the mechanism of the clock will go. And I got this amazing set on Amazon, so there's actually 3 separate clock mechanisms and different styles for the hands. So there's technically a small, medium, and large in this whole set, and I'll have that in the description box below. So I decided to go with a Roman numeral style for the actual numbers on the clock, and I'm just going to use the 12, 3, 6, and 9. And what I'm going to do is 2.5 inch. The reason I wanted to put the tape is this way I could mark exactly how I want them designed, as well as these will be indicators for where I'll need to put the holes. So we've picked a drill bit that would be big enough to hold the mechanism of the actual clock, as well as make the drill holes big enough so this way I can thread the macrame cord through to complete the design of this. So for the actual clock itself, we're going to actually have to cut out a small little plate inside of the back of our wood clock. And what we're going to be using is an oscillating saw, and this is just going to be able for us to cut out a sliver so that way the mechanic of the clock itself can fit into the back, and this won't bulge out from the back. So just using a chisel and a hammer, we were able to kind of slide it out. Then we'll go back and use the oscillating saw just to make a nice clean cut for the back. I love this product by Behr. It's water-based wood stain, and again, I'm using the early American wood stain color. It's super easy to apply, and the best advice I can give is just to work in small sections and try to rub the stain in along the same lines as the wood grain. Again, this stain is really easy to use, and I'm going to seal it with furniture salve. This is all natural and it works beautifully. A little goes a long way, and it smells fantastic. All the products that I'm using will be found in the description box below. The wood stain itself dries very, very quickly, and once I'm finished putting my top sealer on, we can go ahead and put the actual clock in. What I particularly liked about it, it was really easy to follow, and the instructions are everything that you need in order to put the mechanism in. So to put the actual Roman numeral design, I'm just going to use a little piece of tape, so this way I've got something to grab while I place the numeral design onto the clock. And it went really quickly, and I loved how it looked. For the back of where I'm actually tying the macrame cord, I just tied it into a really tight knot and was pretty happy with that. But you could also add in a little bit of hot glue if you just wanted to add a little more security. The instructions that came with the clock mechanism were super easy to follow, and overall I'm really delighted with the results. So these are actually for the top of a fence post. These are just caps that go on top. And I thought it would be actually kind of nice to make something that I could use for my cups. So I'm just going to use the bigger size of the two, and I'm going to sand it down to the raw. And this is actually a cedar wood that I'm using. And these are super inexpensive. I think they ran about $3 each, but I'm only going to be using the one. This is a super inexpensive project to make. So we're just going to make an X in the back. This way we have a center point. Then we're just going to drill in a hole. I have some leftover scrap wood in a 2" by 2", and this will be perfect. What I'll want to do is cut about a 12" piece of it. Once we cut the 12" piece off the scrap wood, what we want to do is make sure that it's sanded down and both ends are completely flat. Now that we have everything cut and sanded to exactly where we need it, we're also going to make a small hole inside the post that we just cut. The next step will be to put in a 3" screw. This way everything will be set in place and everything will be standing completely straight. The one thing you'll want to do is make sure that the screw is just slightly below the actual plate of the wood, so that way when it stands upright, it's not going to wobble. I picked up these hooks from Home Depot in the matte black, and I thought this would be perfect for the project. I'm using the same wood stain in the bear in the early American. I really love this color of wood stain. Super easy to use, and it dries super fast. You generally only need one coat. Once it was dry, I'm going to use the furniture salve. Again, this is all natural, easy to use, and it smells fantastic. This will seal the wood project. A little tiny bit will go a long way. Before placing the hooks, we made sure with the cups that everything would have enough room from all four sides of the wood posts that we placed. I wanted this project to hold up to 6 cups. I still had a piece of the cedar wood, so I came up with another great DIY project. And I have these cast iron hooks that are designed to look like old vintage taps. But I wanted to cut the board to look a little bit more fancy than just a straight board. This is a very universal project for many rooms. This kind of project could be used for a laundry room, a bathroom, or even a kitchen. What we wanted to do was create a design for either side of the wood. This way, it would just kind of make the wood appear a little bit more visually pleasing and give it a little bit more of a unique design. So we just traced out some random objects, and now we're just going to trace it from the piece of paper that we created, and we'll flip it over so they're equal on both sides. Just using a jigsaw, we're just going to go all the way around the exact traced markings that we made, and again, they'll be equal on both sides. The trick with using a jigsaw is making sure your blade is actually smaller, not larger, because there's curves to this when you're using a jigsaw. Once we made our cuts, we'll just run the sander and smooth out everything, including the top side and as well as the back side. Once everything was finished, I'm just going to seal it using the furniture salve. I'm just going to add some hooks onto the back, and then this way I'm just going to use a piece of wire to be able to hang this. And this will also hold the weight of the cast iron hooks. Once we place the screws in, I'm going to use a little tiny dab of some acrylic paint just to cover up the silver heads of the screws, so this way it will blend into the cast iron. I haven't been back home since prior to the pandemic, so I was super excited to finally go back home to visit my mom and visit with my sister. My mom is probably one of the biggest inspirations I could ever have when it comes to DIY. She has always taught me that if you want something, you can make it yourself. And that's how we grew up. Everything we wanted, we figured out how to make ourselves, and she is a true inspiration for that. I've always had more satisfaction making something than buying something, and that's because of my mom. She definitely has DIY'd this entire house and is a huge vintage shopper, and she did a beautiful job. This house dates back to 1907. As we've all dealt with the pandemic, I talk to my mom very, very often, but there's always something special about being there one-on-one, spending quality time together. I'm so grateful for my mom's energy because she told my sister and I that if you work really hard, you can obtain anything you want. And I'm super proud of my sister as she's just moved into a beautiful new home, and she's about to share one of her greatest gifts that she's worked so hard to finally achieve for herself. So we took a drive out to spend where my sister loves to spend any free time that she has. And she lives by Blue Mountain in Ontario. And this is a beautiful small little pocket in Collingwood. I sometimes wonder who I'm proud of more, my mom or my sister, but I think it's pretty equal. We were actually born on the farm, and my mom comes from the country. But when my sister and I were little, we moved to the city. And my sister's dream, after all her hard work, was to have her own horse. And it was such a privilege to see how she enjoys to spend her free time. I consider myself very privileged and lucky to have a sister that I could envy and look up to like I do. This was a much needed vacation to spend time with these two amazing people in my life. This is my sister's horse, Mova, and he's just a baby, so he's almost 3, and she's been breaking and training him and has done an amazing job. So it was actually a privilege to spend some time with him and get to know him and see all of what my sister's been doing these last couple of years. My sister Jennifer has a heart of gold, and to see her share it with this beautiful animal just touched me. Now that we can travel more freely, I'm really looking forward to coming back really soon and sharing DIYs while I visit with them. I would have so much fun coming back and DIYing within my sister's home, my mom's home, and spending more time with them in the near future. These two amazing ladies are the strongest roots of where I come from, and I'm so proud of them. It is definitely a privilege to have such an amazing mom and such an incredible sister. It was sad to leave, but I miss Ryan and I miss my puppies, and I'm looking forward to going back to my home and my friends. But I will visit again soon. Thank you so much for joining me in this week's video. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up and don't forget to hit the subscribe button. I'm really looking forward to sharing more fun DIYs with you soon. Until then, take care.